My name's Adam. I'm a leadership coach and owner of Seeding the Lead. And today I'm going to teach you about how to solve your problems in 4 easy steps. When it comes to problem solving, most people screw it up. And I'm going to be absolutely honest with you. The reason they screw it up is because they don't spend enough time at the beginning of solving the problem, and they spend too much time on solution. How do I fix the problem? What is the solution I can implement that is a quick fix now that I don't have to worry about it? And this screws people over time and time and time again. How do I know it's screwing you over? That's actually pretty easy because the problem keeps coming up. It keeps coming back and it keeps coming back and it keeps coming back. And you feel like you've dealt with it again and again and again and again and again. And still you have this problem to the point that you're frustrated about what's going on. Then you're coming to me, I'm frustrated about what's going on. And then you just feel like you just want to take everything and just throw it out the window, baby in the bathwater, which is what you shouldn't be doing. An example of this is I was working with a client and he was having a problem with one of his colleagues. They had already talked to this colleague. They had talked to this colleague multiple times, yet the problem kept coming up. It got to the point that they were looking to write this colleague up. They were going to go to HR and they were going to write him up and they were going to just have HR deal with it, wash their hands of this colleague. When I entered the picture as their coach, we sat down and we started problem solving. What is going on here? The issue was that this client of mine thought that the problem was the attitude of this colleague. The attitude was the symptom of the root cause. The root cause in this case was that the coworker or colleague was going through a divorce. They were upset. They were grieving a loss. They were having severe mental health issues due to this loss, which caused a attitude problem that was showing up at work, causing conflicts at work, causing this person to be late, causing them to mouth off when they shouldn't have mouthed off. And the reality was these were all symptoms of the root cause, which was a grieving process and a loss, which meant that the solution to this individual wasn't to write them up. That's the wrong thing to do in this situation. It was actually to send them for help to help with the grieving process so that they can move through it and come out the other side a better person. But that's not how most people think. Most people look at the symptoms, they do not take the time to understand the root cause, and thus they apply a solution that doesn't work. And so I'm going to really teach you 4 steps that you need to do if you would like to solve any problem within your life. Whether this be at work, within your personal relationships, whether this be moving towards your goals, doesn't matter. If it's a problem, these 4 steps are going to be the same no matter what. The first step, super easy. The first step is understanding the problem. The issue that I see with most of my clients and most of y'all out there is that you are not spending enough time on step 1. In fact, most of you are skipping it because you think you understand the problem. No, you don't. Again, how do I know you don't understand this problem? Because the problem came back, and it came back multiple times, which tells me you did not spend enough time on step 1. What do we have to do in step 1? We have to ask yourself, what is the problem? What are the symptoms of the problem? Like, what am I experiencing in regards with this problem? What is within my control? What is not within my control? What are facts? What are my own opinions? And analyzing and trying to get into the root cause of the problem. See, when you look at the problem, you have symptoms, and there's going to be a myriad of symptoms, usually about 4, 5, 6, sometimes as many as 20 different symptoms. These are symptoms of the root cause of the problem. An example of this is I worked with one coach, or I should say one manager, and they had a lot of staff turnover. It's like, I have all this staff turnover. I have people arriving late to my job. They don't respect me. I have high staff turnover, and I have people that just walk away from the job and they don't give the 2 weeks. What the hell's going on? And they came to me trying to fix their staff turnover. The staff turnover was a symptom. The fact that people were walking away from the job was a symptom. The fact that their attitudes were bad at work was a symptom. These were all symptoms of the root cause. And the root cause was they had poor leadership. Their manager didn't know what the hell they were doing. And so what I had to do is I had to get in there and work with their manager, specifically one specific manager, and help them change their ideologies, change how they treat their colleagues and their coworkers to alleviate the symptoms. How you know that you've hit the root cause is because there's only ever one root cause, maybe two tops, but that is incredibly rare. Typically, there's only ever one root cause to a problem. The next step, after you've analyzed the problem, after you understand the root cause, again, spend a lot of time on step one. On step two, what you need to do is understand, is this a problem? Because problems can be solved. Sometimes what you're dealing with is not a problem. It is a dilemma. Dilemmas are when neither option that you have is good. For example, during the Ukrainian war, I remember learning about a Russian company that was forced up against a river. They were faced with one of two options. They either cross the river and they leave their tanks, their guns behind and lose all that equipment, or they make a standing fight and they could win. Both options are awful. Both have severe consequences. This is a dilemma. You're not going to be able to fix this. And so the commanders had to decide which option gave me the best benefit. Which one would screw me over the least? And you have to understand this because you might not be solving a problem, you might be solving a dilemma. In which case, sit down and ask yourself, which is the less worst choice to have? Or you might not be even solving a problem at all. This might be something that you just have to deal with or accept. For example, about 80% of all problems in a relationship, you're not going to be able to solve. What I mean by this is that these are character issues or character flaws within the person. For example, I'm an incredibly stubborn man. It is who I am. I am stubborn when it comes to dating. I'm stubborn when it comes to my goals, etc., etc. You cannot change this aspect of me, which means that if you have a problem with it and you try to change me, that's not going to work. You have to learn to live with it. You have to learn to maintain a functioning relationship with me while working with my stubbornness. This is often the case I see in the work site. There's usually a manager that has a problem with an employee. The issue is that the manager is like, this employee is the problem. It's like, no, this isn't a problem. This is something that we just have to work with. For example, I remember working with one manager and they had an employee that didn't want to be social. They wanted to stay at their desk, do spreadsheets all day long. And they said, this is a problem. We need to fix you. And they forced this individual to go to the front desk and start socializing with people. Well, it didn't work because the employee ended up leaving the company. This isn't a problem. What they should have done instead is accept that this is an issue that they cannot solve and they must work around it. If I was in their situation, what I would have done is taken that employee and said, awesome, we'll give you all the spreadsheets you want. You don't have to deal with customer service. We'll have other people do that and we'll shuffle their work onto you. That's how you deal with it. The issue that I typically see is many people think that some problems cannot be solved when they absolutely can, or that they believe that some problems are dilemmas, which is why you must take the time to consider, is this a problem? Is this a dilemma? Or is this something I have to work around? Take some time to consider it. And the only way you're going to figure this all out is when you start to get to step 3, which is understanding solutions. Once we get to step 3 of the problem-solving process, we take into account the root cause. We take into account what we want instead. I think I forgot to mention that, but in step 1, make sure you spend some time understanding, if this is the problem, what do you want instead? So in this step, in step 3, we understand, hey, this is where we want to go based on the outcomes that we want. We understand that root cause. We understand the desired outcomes. We understand what's within our control. And we also understand what is fact and what is opinion. This is critical. You have emotions. I know you have emotions. Why? Because you're a human. I'm a human. These emotions are going to cloud your judgment. They are going to make you believe something is true when it is not true. How do I know this? Because typically people use I feel statements. For example, I remember talking to one gentleman and he said, my coach doesn't want me on the team. I feel like he thinks that I'm a terrible player and that I shouldn't be on the team. It's like, okay, what is the actual fact of the matter? The fact of the matter is you're not on the team. The rest of it is all opinion. And that's the problem when it comes to problem solving and creating solutions, is if you go with what your opinion is and not what the facts are, you don't understand the root cause and you're going to come up with the wrong solution to the problem. This is critical to understand. Once you understand all those aspects and you're creating the solution, I want you to create a list of solutions, multiple lists. Whether they be good or bad solutions, it does not matter. I want you to create a list of them. This will help broaden your horizons and see the problem from multiple angles. From that list, start looking at the one that will give you the best outcome that you want. For example, I remember working with a client and they said to me, I hate my job. I just want to leave it. I would like you, Adam, to help me change jobs. Awesome. Let's sit down and figure this out. When we sat down, I said, what are your options? And he said, I don't have any options. I have to work this job until I'm dead. And I said, that's not true. You could quit this job right now. He's like, yeah, well, I don't want to because then I would be homeless. I'm like, okay, fair enough, but it is an option. We can get you out of this job literally right now if you so desire. That is just an option that has undesirable outcomes. He said, yes. It's like, cool. There is one avenue we could go. What are the other avenues we could go down? And lo and behold, by broadening his horizons and looking at the different avenues, we were able to pick the ones that said, hey, this gets me what I want. Not right now, but down the road, I can get out of this job. And that's important. We take from a list of solutions to the problem, the one that will give us the desired outcomes. Once we have that, we implement it. And we implement it for an extended period of time. One of the biggest problems I see is that leaders or individuals, when they implement a solution, they don't give enough time to the solution. For example, in relationships, conflict management, the couples will come up with a way to solve their conflict, but they'll only use their measurement stick of 1 or 2 weeks and to determine if the conflict was resolved, if this is an acceptable solution. That is not enough time. You got to give it a couple of months and you have to really work on it. Give it an extended period of time. After that extended period of time, then we get to step 4, which is reevaluate what's going on. Take a minute, sit down. Have the symptoms of the problem gotten better? If the answer is no, nothing has gotten better, you got to go back to step 1. You did not understand the problem, which means you're missing something. You implemented the wrong solution to a problem that you don't understand. If you said, I kind of understand it, but the symptoms are there, they're just not as bad anymore. We go back to step 1. We are missing a part of the problem. We understand the problem, but we're still missing something. Go back, analyze. What have we missed? We might not have understood the full root of the problem, and thus the solution that we implemented only covered half of that problem. Or you get to the next step, which is absolutely, we solved the problem. We understood the issue and the symptoms have all gone away. Sweet. Move on. Let it die in the past. Nobody cares anymore. congratulations, you have solved the problem. Those are really the 4 easy steps. The issue is that these tend to take a lot of time and energy to move through, and people want things done ASAP. That's why they come to me. Part of my job is to sit down with you and help you problem solve your problems by making you think, by slowing you down in step 1 and 2 before we move to step 3. Because by moving to step 3 before we've done 1 and 2, you screwed up. You don't understand the problem, you're implementing a solution that will not fix the problem. So again, slow it down. Take the time to ask questions and be curious. Curiosity will always help you in the long run. If you found this video helpful, please give it a like, subscribe, and share it with somebody that could use this information. Otherwise, I'll see you in the next video. Cheers.